my that's one of my favorite parts about alternative music. It's like how do we push the envelope to the point where it's different, but we're still not like losing people, you know?
Mm. And real quick, just like so it starts off with Moldy Peaches. Uh, like you said, they were looking for where the music scene was, couldn't find it. They eventually found a community. They went to the Sidewalk Cafe,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of known as like the home of anti-folk. That's what Moldy
Yeah,
Peaches. Moldy Peaches is kind of like. When I looked them up, they're kind of like the progenitors of like the anti-folk movement, or like the face of like the anti-folk movement, which I'd never even heard of. But
yeah.
um,
But in a nutshell, it's kind of like there Moldy Peaches music in general is like just kind of like witty lyrics,
yeah,
kind of like a basic structure and formation, just like guitar, regular
it
chord
sounds like
progression.
folk music, but with like
Yeah,
weird,
but like
weird
humorous
lyrics.
lyrics, very
Yeah,
like out there. Like you can tell they're just kind of like it really sounds like two people fucking around, at
yeah,
home, and then they go out and perform it, But it's not.
yeah.
It's not like it's not as bad as it sounds. Like it was.
No.
There's something there, They definitely have something there. They do it
Li-
well.
Listen to "I Love You" by Andrew Jackson Jihad. I don't know if anyone knows that song, but that's the kind of vibe that is. So
Yeah, like in the beginning when they were like talking to those dudes in the hallway, like, oh, we got singing songs, and those guys were like, oh, they were like interested. I was just laughing because I was like,
yeah,
because right before that, you hear the song they're singing, and it's just fucking like, just crazy. Like the
yeah,
lyrics are just ridiculous, but
but yeah. So oh yeah, so in the documentary, so that this is all pre 9/11, and then 9/11 happens,
mm-hmm.
and there was like this sense of like fragility with like life. It's like, wow, we can die at any moment, you know, like why am I going to work? So it's like a lot of
Yeah,
people kind of just like quit their, like they said, like a lot of people quit their jobs, and then a lot of people moved to Williamsburg, Brooklyn. So that's where kind of like a lot of this was taking place afterwards.
mm-hmm.
So a lot of people were quitting their jobs, and they were just kind of making their own like underground like musical community, kind of like similar to what it was in Greenwich Village in the '60s.
Mm-hmm.
People just making music, hanging out, and people were quitting like corporate jobs just to focus on music and whatnot. And that's kind of like where like TV on the radio and these bands like Oneida kind of started popping out afterwards,
Yeah,
which is interesting because I always thought that like because like Williamsburg, Brooklyn now is kind of like a very like hipster spot.
mm-hmm.
I kind of thought that started in like the in the 2010s, right? But I kind of guess it started like a whole decade before that.
Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like that was probably the precursor to the
Yeah,
hipster movement because, like, where else? What better place for hipsters to go to but there? You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
the hot spot and just kind of just fuck it up.
yeah.
Not really, but but yeah, no, yeah, I thought that was really cool too. TV on the Radio was another band that I've heard a couple of their tracks in the past, and
Yeah,
they're a band that's pretty like remixed pretty heavily too, with a lot of DJs and stuff like that. So,
yeah.
um, yeah, that one and Rapture that was a cool one for me too
Mm.
because they're also a really favorite band of mine. I just love how raw they sound. Like I truly believe that bassist carries that band, but they're as an entirety, it's just like it's really cool.
Who
It's
was
like
the
I said,
guy? Sorry,
no,
who was
no,
the
no,
guy
no.
managing that band? Was it James Murphy? Was his name?
Yeah, I think so.
The guy
James
that,
Murphy.
yeah,
The guy
because
was
that
like trying to
was,
control everything or whatever. That was
yeah.
weird.
I mean, he was just kind of like an outcast, but with like outcast with like a vision. But I mean, it worked for him because So this is the guy that kind of started LCD Sound System.
Yeah.
Um, and he was like 30 years old when that band started, which is kind of crazy thinking about it now. But
Yeah. Weird.
the whole thing with him, because like that whole got started with he met David Holmes, who was like an Irish like DJ who just
Mm-hmm.
did like dance and house music and stuff like that at that time. And they kind of like made, they kind of, I guess, this is where he got the idea to fuse like electronic like dance music with like indie alternative music to make you
Hmm.
kind of to give it like nice like little like dancing feature. And I was wondering like if, I feel like Block Party does that a lot. I was wondering if Block Party kind of got the idea from them. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I know they toured together for sure,
Hmm.
but I don't. I don't know. Yeah, I just like. I thought that was such a weird thing for me, like that part of the documentary where it was just like, because like so him and this guy basically like wanted to form a label, but they wanted to get like the perfect band to jumpstart the
Yeah.
label, and that's where the Rapture came in. They saw the Rapture live and was like, these guys are it. Which is really funny because I feel like if I would have saw the Rapture live, I would have not been like, this is the perfect band to sign. But I mean, regardless, they recorded House of Jealous Lovers, which is I think arguably their biggest hit. But yeah, during the process, apparently James Murphy was like very, very much controlling. I don't know how much influence he had on that record, to be honest.
Hmm.
It's a really good record, but yeah, I don't know. And it was weird too because the Rapture, I think like the Rapture kind of like disbanded shortly afterwards, and then reformed, and then disbanded again. So it's it's
Yeah.
very curious to see how much James Murphy had an effect on that album, and how much of that is him versus the
Mhm.
Rapture. I personally, if I was the band, I would have just been like, "Fuck you, I'm not recording this shit with you." You know?
Well, that's kind of, I guess, why they left, because that whole like disconnect.
Yeah,
So, and then that's how LCD Sound System came about, because they needed a band for that label.
yeah, true. But yeah, nonetheless, I guess it kind of worked out for everybody in the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the idea of that punk disco type genre. Um,
Mhm.
I saw briefly. I got confused because I saw briefly when they were signed. It was like Death from Above. I saw Death from Above, and like it reminded me of the band Death from Above 1979, which is also coincidentally a punk disco, not punk disco, punk dance genre
Mhm.
band. Um, but I don't know. I was looking online and I didn't really see any correlation between that.
Mm.
But it was like
Nah.
on one of the labels or something for that for their record label, James Murphy's record label. There's a scene
Oh,
in there where
okay.
I saw it and I was just like I looked it up, but Death from Above 1979 is a pretty good band too. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're
No.
they're in that genre, I guess.
Mm.
Technically they are. They don't have like as crazy vocals as the Rapture, but definitely like a dancey punk kind of vibe.